Chicago, hold this L real quick. Just real quick. Hold this L real quick, Chicago. Shout out to Chicago. Chicago. Largely considered one of the largest cities in the United States of America. What is it, the second largest city by demographic and population behind New York? I'm not sure. But Chicago, y'all going to have to hold this L. You're going to have to hold this L as a result of voting Lori Lightfoot in because she's a woman and because she identifies as gay. When are y'all going to stop voting these politicians in? When are y'all going to stop voting in Beetlejuice and start making a decision that's in your best interest and not across political or party lines, not because of what it is that you get buzzed down by in the bedroom, not because of the fact that you're a woman and you're a double minority. In the last 42 years is what they said, was it 60 years? There's never been a one-time Chicago mayor that's been ousted this quickly before a runoff. Let's dive into this really quickly.
Diana DiGiacomo is a Chicago resident. Sam Sanchez, a Chicago business owner and chairman of the Illinois Restaurant Association. They both join me now. Diana, your reaction to the results.
Good morning, Todd. I'm not surprised, but I couldn't be more happy to have somebody in there that actually takes it seriously. We have two very different approaches now of the two guys that are having the runoff. One is very much police protection and support the police, and the other one is more of a defund the police and self-rule. So we'll see how it turns out, but I'm glad the city spoke out and said no more Larry Lightfoot.
Yeah, Sam.
So either way, they say, listen, we need a whole man in here. We don't need a woman that's acting like a man. We don't want one that don't sleep with men. We need a whole man in here. Now, the other side of the equation is that it looks as though the residents of Chicago, in which I'm not sure which side of the aisle that these people are, but I'm assuming that they're all Democrat, they say we don't want to defund the police. We don't want to actually let the prisoners run the insane asylum. The other guy, I see y'all still holding on to that victim Olympics. Y'all just said y'all don't like Lori, but y'all still going to hold on to that victim Olympian, huh? All right, let's continue.
To follow up on Diana's breakdown of the remaining two candidates in the race, you aren't out of the woods with regard to Brandon Johnson. He is in the runoff against Paul Vallis. And as you well know, he is extremely far left, defund the police. So my concern and my question to you.
Which guy is this? Let me back this up a little bit.
It's Paul Vallis. And as you well know,
Paul Vallis. Let me look at what Paul Vallis was talking about. Ah. So now what you have is Paul Vallis versus Brandon Johnson. So Paul Vallis is apparently one of those type of guys that say defund the police. So even though y'all getting rid of Lori Lightfoot, even though y'all getting rid of Beetlejuice, y'all still running in the same race that y'all going to be running in prior to, except for this time it's going to be a white man. This time it's going to be a white man. All right, let's continue.
He spoke out and said no more Larry Lightfoot.
Yeah, Sam, to follow up on Diana's breakdown of the remaining two candidates in the race, you aren't out of the woods with regard to Brandon Johnson. He is in the runoff against Paul Vallis.
Oh, it's Brandon Johnson, so it's the black guy. I'm sorry. I got it wrong. Thank y'all for correcting me in the chat and then forcing me to rewatch this. See, this is why we got to parse through the information. So it's the black guy. But here's the beautiful thing. So Chicago is changing. Chicago is saying, actually, we don't even want the black guy no more. We don't want a black guy. We don't want a black woman. We don't want defunding the police. We don't want any of that. We want that white man that is very much pro-police, pro-safety, pro-keep my daughter safe that she walks to school, pro-let me make sure that there's more cops that's taking care of business and preventing things from happening. We don't want no social officers walking over and trying to talk to a bunch of killers that's walking up in here trying to have a conversation. We don't want that at all. Okay.
And as you well know, he is extremely far left, defund the police. So my concern and my question to you, Sam, if he is elected, would it basically be Lightfoot's second term?
Yes.
I mean, we're pushing towards Ballas. Ballas has a lot of experience, come from an old administration of Mayor Daley's, which he surrounded himself.
You see that man with that white beard? He missing his colics up in here. You see that man? He got them glasses on, that white shirt. He ain't got no shark suit on like your latest preacher. Got that strong chin. Probably got a great family that's backing him, a strong wife and some kids that's been to college. That looks like y'all guy. If you got to go with a Democrat, he looks like it. Listen, I was watching Moneyball the other night, and they were evaluating the talent based off of whether or not they had a pretty girlfriend, whether or not they had confidence and they swing and all of this other type of stuff. I also seen a video with Deion Sanders the other day. I'm going to break that down tomorrow. We're going to do an early live stream tomorrow because I got a flight to catch because I'm going to be in Miami, right? I was watching Deion Sanders, and he said, listen, quarterback, we need them as, they need to come from a two-parent household, and the A, B, and C, offensive linemen, and be focused, whatever. But that defense, we want them from the single-parent households. Mama barely even made the flight to even come down here. He said some things that a lot of y'all is upset at, but listen, we going to man that out tomorrow. That is a part of the show. But my point is that stereotyping is necessary. A lot of black people think that it is offensive to be stereotyped. But when I see a woman that walks in and she smells like black soap and she don't have on no shoes and it's the wintertime and she talking about her chakras, I already know she going to be a hyena. It's a strong possibility that she going to be a hyena. Now, she might have that good box. But she definitely going to be a modern woman that advocates for modern women and modern rights. Stereotyping is necessary and it's real.
With a lot of experience. Johnson, yes, his nerd has always been the defender of the police. We're concerned, unfortunately, that either one who becomes mayor have no control over the justice system in the Cook County. And Cook County is probably the worst one.
That guy right there, whoever that guy is right there, and I don't even know him. He looked like he worked for an HBCU. He looked like he could be the head administrator at an HBCU. Whoever that guy is right there, he don't have that white skin, that strong, pale man from Caucasus that has a strong jawline, could have possibly played sports. This man right here looks like he could work at an HBCU. He looks like a Jackson State, Bethune-Cookman College administrative executive. That's what he looks like. He looks like he could run Howard University. This is the man that y'all want, right?
County in the state of Illinois, the prosecutor and the judges have to be replaced also in the next election.
Okay, so to follow up, Sam, if Vallis...
You know why it's so awesome being black and conservative and being rich? Is because I can get away with a lot of the stuff that other people can't say. So if I was a white man saying this right now, y'all would be like, ooh, I'm so mad at him. We gonna unsubscribe for his channel. But see, since I'm a black man, it don't make it any less true, but it means that some of y'all gonna call me a coon, but I don't care.
Wins, are you 100% confident that Chicago will become safer?
Brandon's parents was pastors?
If Ballas wins, he's headed in the right direction. He's surrounded himself with very smart people who've been in government previously. With old Mayor Daley, we know that the city was doing great, and we're looking forward to work with him.
Okay. Diana, this was an annihilation, simply put. 83% of the voters said we do not want Lori Lightfoot when you add up the totals and see where she landed there. Not a lot of support there. Is this a mandate against...
Look at that. Look at Beetlejuice. Look at Beetlejuice. Whew. I'm sure she can figure out how to get her a position in the Biden administration. All the other women went and got positions in the Biden administration. Jennifer Granholm, who used to be the governor of Michigan, and she did Barack Obama and them some favors back in the early 2000s when she was ruining the state and fucking up Flint's water. Y'all want to have that conversation. She's like the energy professor defense mechanism lady over there in California now.
Mayors like Lori Lightfoot and the harm that they are causing blue cities like Chicago?
I believe that it is. I believe that people have just had enough. And my message has been go out and change. Regime change is the only way we're going to fix this. And I think this was a loud and clear message that this woke agenda is not working for Chicago.
A recent poll shows that 61% of Chicago residents disapproved of Lori Lightfoot's performance.
You know what, though? Even though it's 61% and 83% said we not fucking with her, y'all still got like a 13% or what is that, 16.5%, almost 17% demographic of the population. That's a lot of people. Y'all got millions of people in Chicago. It's a lot of people that still like Lori Lightfoot. That concerns me. It concerns me because then you have to take into consideration that it's a lot of people that probably didn't even go to the polls because y'all know y'all don't like to turn out because they talking about percentages. They didn't talk about how many people actually voted. I guarantee you over there on the south side of Chicago, the polls was empty. And with good reason. Let these good folk that pay their taxes, that live in wealthy neighborhoods, determine y'all millages, determine the fact of what's going to go on in y'all city, because we don't want no uninformed voters that's going back talking about, but it's a tax write-off. We don't want that.
Performance as mayor. Diana, do you know one single person that voted for Lightfoot? And if so, what was their reasoning?
Because she black and she...
Actually, I do not know a single person who voted for Lightfoot.
That's because you a good white woman.
Especially after I got mugged in January or December in one of the nicest neighborhoods of the city, and people were looking at this at happy.
Wait. Somebody said y'all had a little over 500,000 votes. So you telling me over 500,000 people voted. What's the population of Chicago? Let's find out. Chicago, y'all got 2.7 million people as of 2021. Chicago is considered to be the third largest city. Population, white alone, 45.3%, black and African American, 29.2%. 2.7 million people within the city of Chicago, and only 500,000 of y'all voted. Y'all have a better turnout election in the national election. Ain't that sad? It's much better than other cities. I'll give y'all that, though.
At 11 o'clock in the morning, and they're going, something has to change.
Same question to you, Sam. Do you know one single person in this election, last night's election, that voted for Lori Lightfoot? And if so, why?
I do. Not one, but a lot of people that voted for Lightfoot. She had an agenda on
then he need to get some better friends.
On saving Southwest area, bringing up with cultural centers and schools and educational programs. So I can understand that sense is going and taking care of these areas that have been ignored for a long time.
Okay. Now, you are obviously a conduit to the business community. Will businesses come back to Chicago, allowing you to get the tax dollar base and allowing you to run the programs involving, I don't know, police officers, making the residents of Chicago feel safe? Final word to you, Sam.
Yeah, I mean, definitely we're looking for business to come back. I mean, the city is starting to, the crime is...
See, he didn't give a definitive yes, and he didn't say, you know what, we looking for it to come back. That's a no. That is a no. People that have money in Chicago, if you are not making a lot of money in Chicago, they are running away from Chicago. And then they taking their voting habits down to Atlanta, Houston, Dallas, and all of the rest of these states. Oh, and Florida. A lot of y'all is moving to Jacksonville in Florida.
Reduced from what it was a year ago. There is new investment. We've seen about 400 new companies that come into the city.
Look at them. Look at the monkeys up in there stealing all of the purses.
The new food vendor license was applied last summer. So we're heading in the right direction. I mean, it's a whole, like I said before, I mean, it's the idea of coming to a city and being afraid should not be the reason you don't come in. I mean, we definitely have to address the prosecution and the accountability of the crime.
To all of my Michiganders, right? Because y'all know we right there. Basically, a lot of Michiganders, whenever they take a trip, they go to a few different places. All right. If you're from Michigan, you're from the inner cities, you're from Detroit or whatever, in the Metro Detroit area, usually this is what we do. A lot of people like to take day trips and they just drive over to Chicago because it's only 4 hours away. It's literally, you can do it in less time. but you can drive over to Chicago, and so you can get there in 4 hours. So they usually do Chicago. They'll do Cedar Point down in Ohio, Sandusky, Ohio, or they'll shoot down to Cleveland. Sometimes we used to shoot down to Cleveland to catch a ball game back when LeBron was playing for Cleveland. We can shoot down to Cleveland to catch a ball game because Quicken Loans, we know a lot of people that worked at Quicken Loans, which is a Michigan company, and Dan Gilbert owned the Cleveland Cavaliers, and so they would get tickets and we'd shoot down there. Or they'll go up to Mackinac Island, which is up northern Michigan, where they don't even have cars up there, something like that, right? They'll go to like one of those three places. Let me give y'all another place that y'all need to go to instead of Chicago. Let me give you an alternative. Going the complete opposite way. Not towards Chicago, but going the complete opposite way. Go to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is literally the exact amount of time, the exact same time it takes to drive to Pittsburgh is the exact amount of time that it takes to drive to Chicago. Pittsburgh is a phenomenal city. When you go and you're driving into Pittsburgh, it looks like something drawn out of a magazine. It is one of the most beautiful scenes that I've ever seen in my entire life. A lot of people not even hip to Pittsburgh. They got casinos. They got a thriving downtown. Their whole city look like it's carved out of a mountain. They have culture. They have phenomenal bridges. They have awesome teams for you to go and visit. Pittsburgh is one of my go-to cities if I want to just take a quick flight somewhere really, really close, tap in. Pittsburgh is it. Don't go to Chicago. Go to Pittsburgh. If you're in the Midwest, don't go to Chicago. Go over to Pittsburgh. It's 200 times better. They have much more thriving. They have a safer community. It is a dope vibe. It is a dope group of people, and you are going to have a ball. Trust me. Don't say I never did nothing for you.